Hey everybody, it's Rick Trummer from Rick Trummer Consulting and Training. Welcome back. If you know, this week we're working on kind of going through each of the tabs that are inside both the ACR application, Adobe Camera Raw application, and Lightroom. And we're kind of doing a side-by-side comparison and showing you all the different tools. What I'm going to do this week, or this video, is I'm going to show you the two tabs, the Hue Saturation and Lightness tab, and along with the Split Toning tab, so you can see kind of some differences to both of those and working through those. Yesterday, as you know, we went into the Tone Curve and the Detail tab, and again into the Hue and Saturation area first. So if you just wanted to convert, you can just hit the Convert button. It'll go into black and white, and you'll be able to make changes in each color toning that you have here. It's really a great area to do black and white. I prefer to do my black and white inside Photoshop. I'm going to show you in the coming weeks, I'm going to show you 5 to 6 different methods of actually turning black and white images and what's maybe the best one for you to use. Each one has its own kind of usage. This is a great area to start with, though, if you're doing your black and white conversions and you want to do it here without taking it into Photoshop. This is a great way to be able to turn your black and white. A lot of people like to individualize those colored channels. For me, the red channel kind of controls the contrast of that particular image. The green channel controls the detail of the image, and the blue channel controls kind of the noise of that image. That's what kind of those particular items do when you're using them in a total system. If you have a sub color in that area, then it's kind of mixing those two attributes, or whatever those attributes are, inside the system itself. So for me, I kind of go through and with my black and white and kind of go through and kind of isolate each of the tonal process to kind of give me what I'm looking for in a black and white. I really enjoy the plugin from Nick that does black and white conversion. I think it's awesome. Hopefully you found your own black and white. Some of those filters, plugin filters that work with Photoshop really do a beautiful job if you're using, if you're doing black and white. So check out some of those things out there that are out there. The other thing that this tab does is it will allow you to click into a certain range and be able to switch coloring. So if you select Hue Value, what it's going to do now is, let's say I went into reds. There's not a whole lot of reds here, but there is some orange here in the kind of the eyeshadow. And what this will do is you'll be able to change the hue value of that color tone. You can see here I've gone into the oranges and I've actually switched the hue value, switched the color completely. So a lot of people will go into this and switch colors up in each of those particular color shades. If I had some yellow in here, this will switch that hue value inside the yellow area and on down the line. If I select saturation, what it's doing is it's saturating, undersaturating, or oversaturating those particular areas. Let's go back to our orange level, because we have a lot of orange here. You can see that what I'm doing here is I'm pulling saturation out of the oranges that are in this shot. Vice versa, I can actually add to the oranges and create more saturation. So the higher the plus number, the more saturation I'm getting. The lower I go down, the more black and white I'm getting in those specific color ranges. If I'm doing it to luminance, same thing happens here. Now we're just talking about the luminance factor. So if I'm going back to that orange, I'm taking the luminance down, or I'm taking the luminance up. It really depends on what you're doing. This is a nice way to be able to isolate color tone inside of a particular image. Later on in my teaching, I'm going to show you how to do this in the hue and saturation area inside Photoshop to be a lot more specific on your tonal ranges that you'll be able to get into. It'd be very cool. So that's what the hue saturation slider does. Your next slider over is the split toning slider. And this is kind of a neat place to be able to go into your highlight and your shadow area and be able to change your tonal values from those areas. So if, let's say, for example, that I wanted to change the hue value of my highlights, I would be able to go in and do this. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, show you what I'm talking about it a little closer. So here I'm taking my highlight values, all my highlights in here, and I'm changing the tonal value of that. With that, I can also change the saturation of that. So if I wanted to bring the saturation up and turn the coloring of my highlight area, I can do that here. You can see where the tonal value in my highlights is now changing, and the saturation I can bring up or down. So this is a nice way to fill in those highlight areas that you're having some problems with. And vice versa, you can do the same thing with the shadow area. So if you wanted to change the coloring in the shadows, you could easily come in here, take the saturation up just a tidge, and then start moving your hue value. So if you're wondering if your colors are just a tidge off and you wanted to be able to take a look at that, this is a nice way of being able to use that split toning value. Now the balance will balance between highlight and shadow. So if you want to go more towards the shadow side, you'd be balanced towards that side, or your highlight side, you'd be balanced towards the highlight side. So that's how that slider works. Now let's go into Lightroom and show you the same tools that are inside there. So I'm going to slide into my Lightroom tab, and as you can see, from yesterday, we're still in the same detail tab that I was yesterday. But if you go down here is your hue, saturation, and color slider. Same tools are all here. Everything is there inside here. So you can go to black and white right away, and you can start using that algorithm to be able to change over your black and white. So that has not changed with your particular shot itself. Again, you can go into your hue saturation and use hue, saturation, or luminance. You can also go into the color area and switch the tint right from here as well. So it's a nice little addition that they've added inside there. And then your split toning, same thing. You can see the same balance system that's inside here. So both platforms are almost absolutely identical. They're made by the same creator. So it would be something that you would probably see all the time. So as we go through this, they're just slight differences with the algorithm for output and how you're going to be able to get to each of these applications. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's little talk on the different tabs. Tomorrow we're going to finish up with the tabs. I'm hoping you're enjoying this series. And then next week we're going to start with something all fresh and new. So again, from Rick Trummer Consulting and Training, I'm Rick Trummer, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care.